Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Caplin Point Laboratories Q3 FY22 Earnings Conference Call, hosted by Batlivala & Karani Securities India Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Ms. Alka Katiyar from Batlivala & Karani Securities India Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of B&K Securities, I would like to welcome you all for 3Q FY 2022 earnings conference call of Caplin Point Laboratories Limited. From the company, today we have with us the senior management team, including Mr. C.C. Parthipan, the Chairman, Mr. Vivek Parthipan, the CFO, Mr. Dr. Sridhar Ganesan, the MD, Mr. D. Muralidharan, the CFO, Mr. M. Satyanarayanan, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. I would now like to hand over the call to the management for their initial comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Alka and Rohit. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our earnings call to discuss Q3 and 9 months for this financial year. Please note that a copy of our disclosures is available on the investor section of our website and also the stock exchanges. Please do note that anything said on this call which reflects our outlook towards the future or what could be construed as a forward-looking statement must be reviewed in conjunction with the risks that the company faces. With that, I would like to hand over the floor to our chairman for his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our earnings call. You are aware that Caplin has been growing at a very healthy clip. Probably the best proof is that we generated a cash profit of 1,000 crore in the last 3 years and 9 months. And you are also aware that the sales is in the region of 1,000 plus crore. So this is something, a rarity in the midst of our peers. This clearly shows business in LATAM, that is Latin America, is not a pedestrian prose. We in fact had to put up with many put downs. However, at the end of the day, the result really speaks of what we are today.
This call is now being recorded.
We went to LATAM in the early 2000s. And I still remember when I met actually the chain pharmacy owner who asked me what exactly your strategy, and we told him we would prefer to cater to the bottom of the pyramid and the lower end of the pyramid. For which he said, if you try to cater to the BOP, you'll become part of the BOP. What I have found out that if you become a success in any business, the moment you become success, most of the people who ridiculed you, they will try to either copy you or they will become your customers. This is what has happened actually to us in Central America, that's Latin America. When others looked at poor as poor, we looked at poor as actually the customers. And we also designed a business model which represents our escape velocity and the critical mass that we have today. It is needless to say that we have replaced the importers and created an end-to-end business model in the 6 countries. As you are aware, we are not only manufacture our products, but also we distribute it to the last mile, thus eliminating the intermediaries, hence creating an effective cash flow for our company. Our future focus would be actually 6 major markets from these 6 smaller markets where the business model will be to replace the distributor wherever necessary. Let me again repeat, we have replaced the importers in the smaller geography and we will have planned to replace the distributors in the bigger geographies. The 6 bigger geographies are USA, Mexico, Brazil, Europe, South Africa, and CAS countries. Coming to US, I would like to give you some statistics which would make you to understand, although this is the #1 country in the world, this is also a country where there are people in the form of uninsured 13%, underinsured 18 to 21%, and 29% of adult Americans feel the pain of the cost of the generics. That clearly shows that we have opportunity in the second and third tier market. Then Mexico. Coming to Mexico is a country which is the backyard of US and is also the adjacent country, Central America. The culture and the product portfolio which I have seen in this part of the world is very similar to Central America. And there are two major markets, one in the form of institution and the other one in the form of private market. Most of our Indian companies, they're participating in the two major tenders, and the rest of the business that they do is in the form of brand marketing. We in fact identified a niche space where we would like to actually replace or replicate the distributor, which would give us enough volumes in the years to come. The third market is Brazil. Brazil is the largest market in South America, and we already received the online approval for our facility. We are in the process of filing our dossiers. This is one country where the entry barriers are quite high, and then the model to register in this country is something different from other countries. You have to have a importing laboratory to register your product. So we identified a consultant who has in turn identified a company which has got this importing laboratory, and they would complete our registration, hand it over to us for a cost. Then Europe. You are aware that there are two sets of Europe. The major one are the five mainstream markets in the form of Western Europe, and we also have Eastern Europe. We would do the business at a later date in the Western Europe after we complete our API and formulation, so that the advantage will be when you start manufacturing from key starting materials, intermediates, APIs, and then if you have a front-end presence, if you participate in a tender, you would become actually, you will have a level playing field like any other big company. At least the big companies' overheads may be higher. At that point, you will be in a position to be competitive compared to the big boys also. And initially, the moment we complete 20-25 products, maybe 2 to 2.5 years from now, you would like to create warehousing model which you have done in Central America, in the Eastern European countries, which are smaller in size. Then coming to South America, you are aware the third largest population in South America is Indians. And 6-7 years ago, when I went to this part of the world, I've been to Durban, where I've seen a lot of Indian doctors and chemists. And they, in fact, they told us, the doctors, in fact, who I met, they said we not only prescribe, we also 50 to 60% of the products we dispense, they said. That clearly shows that a company which can create a warehouse can actually supply not only to the pharmacies, distributors, but also to the doctors. This is an opportunity which we have. We have identified a company, and that company will do the registration. And this is also something similar to Brazil. Finally, they'll hand over the registration to us. And many companies, in fact, 2 big companies have done the same model. Once they wanted to go for commercials, they transferred those registrations in their name after paying the cost and then started their own business. We would also follow the same. And finally, CAS. We already appointed 2 senior executives for our business for CAS. CAS consists of 2 different markets. One, the major markets are Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan, and the rest of the markets are something similar to Central America. So we will do stock and sale in this ROW markets, and the 3 markets where the entry barriers are quite high, we will start our registration. It may take 2 years. However, Russia is one country where there is no price erosion, unlike most of the bigger geographies. So this also will be a good opportunity for us. The 2 guys who joined us have worked actually in a company from Delhi, and they have been working in this part of the world for the last 15 to 16 years. Now, the most important in the form of employees first. Keeping the concept in mind, we are offering attractive ESOP. So the leaders and managers have already started training actually the people, and training and coaching will create better awareness and skill set for the second level and third level employees. That will also ensure the attitude towards work and skills to do the work. Yes, the ecosystem in Tamil Nadu has not been extraordinary, which is something similar to automobiles. In fact, Tamil Nadu is known for automobiles. However, we are creating an environment and owning it actually for our industry. And attraction of employees by way of actually not only giving what exactly they wanted, we also offer them freedom, respect, and ESOP, which has made us actually to be a very unique player among the pharmaceuticals in Tamil Nadu. And it will not be out of place to mention today that we have become the #1 company in Tamil Nadu. This is a company, as you know well, which is a turnaround story. By 2006, our 10 rupee share was quoting at 95 paisa. It was an NPA, and we turned it around. Today, you know, the 2 rupee showing, 2 rupee share is quoting at somewhere 800 rupees, I believe. And coming to attrition rate is minimized actually after we started offering all this best of the best. However, when the path is steep, not all the ripples respect the brim. You always embark on an independent journey, and we do not worry about this 1 or 2 swallows. Finally, we also know the story of employee and employer is something similar to envelope and stamp. It seems envelope told the stamp, stick with me, we will go places. Yes, we are all set to go places. The vital few, as I told you before, it's a turnaround story. Number 2, the only company to have reached the current level in Central America by selling plain vanilla generics, 3, sustainable cash flow to take care of all the projects, all the capex and opex without any debt. 4, we are also expanding to 2 major areas in the form of onco tablet and injectable, and a facility for our OSD to the regulated market. 5, when you look at companies of our size which are into injectable business, you would see most of the companies doing only contract manufacturing. In the midst of those, ours is the only company which has already got 12 ANDAs of our own, and we are in the process of filing more and more dossiers. Say 2 to 3 years from now, we will also achieve the critical mass in the form of creating more number of doses, maybe 40, 50 doses, and we will have our own front-end presence in US. Further, if you look at outsourcing of formulation from China, probably we are the only company who outsource formulation from China and export directly to LATAM, when most of the companies are importing API from China to India. Currently, we stand at 39th place among the top 100 Indian companies as per the Toria report. Our goal is to reach within 25 companies in the next 5 to 6 years. Finally, I invite our shareholders to come and visit us to see the tangible developments. Seeing is believing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. So from my side, I would just give a very brief review on our Caplin Steriles, which is the regulated market arm of our company. So the last 9 months sales has overtaken the complete 12-month sales of last year. This is, this is quite a decent achievement for us, especially considering the situation, which was a bit of a stop-start kind of an environment during the first 4-5 months of the year, and also the last 3-4 months we've been on the shutdown in line 1 because we are adding capabilities to manufacture pre-filled bags, pre-mixed bags in this facility. Continuing on with similar kind of progress into the next quarter, we are likely to finish this year at close to 50%, 45-50% increase over last year, which we feel is a respectable improvement over the last financial year. Actually, we did the treatment of capitalizing our R&D assets. We would actually achieve break even by this year itself. But since we follow a much more conservative policy of charging off the R&D expenses, our cash flow break even is going to move into next year. We are very confident that it will happen next year. In fact, we are right now sitting on close to 135, 140 crore worth of orders from this entity alone through all our partners. As Chairman explained, we have 12 ANDAs approved on our own and a further 6 approved through partners. So from Caplin Steriles, we have about 18 approvals, and 15 of these have been launched, and the other 3 would be launched by the next 2 quarters. More than 50% of our products have achieved higher than single-digit market share, close to early double digits or mid double digits, and the rest of them we continuously engage with our partners to see how to increase our market share for these products. The good news we have also is that the first ophthalmic product has been approved from this facility, and this has happened without an inspection of the ophthalmic section. So basically, the manufacturing, filling, testing, etc. of an ophthalmic product is very similar to an injectable in the sense that both of them are sterile processes. And we would assume that given the good track record of compliance and given the good audits that we've had in the past, we've been approved without an actual audit taking place. So this also opens the door for our own filings to happen and also the potential to take on some CMO projects as well in the ophthalmic area. The other good news is we have filed our first product in China through our partner. This is a product that's already been approved in the US, and we have filed in China. Even though it is through a partner, it will give us a lot of good learnings about what the latest requirements are in terms of dossier filing and product approval when it comes to the Chinese NMPA. So we will be watching that space closely. In addition to China, we've also filed 5 products in Canada and another 4 more coming soon. 3 products will go on stream in Australia quite shortly. So all of the non-US progress also is taking shape right now. When it comes to distribution, we have signed 2 new distribution agreements. We are about to sign, I should say, 2 new distribution agreements in the US, which has most of the things that are important for us, such as non-exclusivity, a nominal license fee, and also majority profit share. And this will predate our entry into the US on our own with our own label sometime in 2023 when we have more products under our belt. When it comes to filings, we will be we already have about 6 products under stability. We are continuously making space for more product exhibit batches to happen. We are confident that by end of the year, we will have end of this calendar year, we will have about 12 more products that we will file in the US, of which 5 are ophthalmics and 2 fall under the complex injectable category. So this would augment our growth by end of 2023 and beyond, which is when I think we will start to see the real progress from Caplin Steriles. We are also looking at what kind of a business model we should be attempting for when we launch our own label in the US. As Chairman said, while it would be of importance to cater to the creamy layer, that will not be our initial strategy. We will be looking at how best we can do a hybrid model of targeting the second and third layer of sales and of the third layer of buyers in the US, while also at the same time trying to focus on what we can do with the creamy layer as well. So, which brings us to the last point. When it comes to all of these products that are getting approved, how best are we going to commercialize them? How quickly are we going to commercialize them is going to be important. So, we have embarked on a mega expansion project in phase 2 of our plant, where we have ordered 2 new state-of-the-art vial filling lines from Bosch in Germany. They are known to be the best-in-class equipment. We've also ordered a pre-filled syringe line from Steriline in Italy and a lyophilizer from Toflon. All of these are going to come through by second or third quarter of this financial year, and we expect Q2 of next financial year to to be the time when we will be able to take commercial batches out of phase 2. We will be basically tripling our capacity from where it is right now, and we feel this is going to sail through. This is going to let us sail through to 25, 26 and beyond, and also have enough room for us to take some meaningful contract manufacturing business as well. Finally, we are working on some very interesting concepts when it comes to new drug delivery systems. We are in discussions with a party in the UK where we can make that available hopefully by 25 and beyond. So the larger idea, the larger strategy on our entry into US and other regulated markets remains very much intact, and we also are hoping to support that by getting into backward integration on the API as well, which will give us a real boost when it comes to consistent supply, compliance, and cost of the product. So we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Nikhil from Galaxy International. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations on a great set of results. I just have a couple of strategic questions actually. The first one was that we are setting up our own API plant, right? So are we actually looking to sell the APIs to external customers also, or is it only for internal captive consumption?
Okay. Can I go ahead and answer, or you want to add some more questions, Mr. Nikhil?
Sir, I would just add maybe another 1 or 2 questions then. So the second question was also, like, depending on the answer for the first, the thing is in injectables, as I understand, the volume requirement for API is very, very small, and we are saying that we will go and do the backward integration till the initial KSM. So will it be cost competitive and economic for us to go ahead and do that, right? Because the volumes are generally very, very small, right? So that is linked to the first question itself, sir.
Shall I? Is there anything else, Mr. Nikhil? Yeah. Mr. Nikhil, our idea of going for an API plant is for captive consumption. As you rightly said, it's not easy to create a plant at this stage and cater to the local market or export in a big way. But what will help us is to go for a kilo labs mainly for our own injectables in US, and also for the future plant, especially the one which we are creating for the oncology tablet and injectables. So we'll have 2 kilo labs mainly for the captive consumption.
Yeah, just to add the second question, I think you were talking about the injectable API being small, which is very much true. So while this will be important for us to have a good cost position in the US, I think the more important aspect is continuity of supply. Today, most of the generic injectables, when it comes to pricing, I think there is not too much that separates anyone that is able to supply a product to the US. So what makes a differentiation factor for us would be the fact that we are able to continuously supply without any break. So for that, we need to have our own API where we can go, bravely to a buyer, and then we say that the next 3-4 years I have my API secured. So more than cost, there is a continuity factor. And number 3, our compliance will be in our hands. As you have seen in the past, we have had a very good track record of compliance at all our plants, and we want to make sure the same is extended from our API plant as well, because obviously if there are any compliance issues from a third-party API manufacturer, your product also cannot be in the market, right? So there are multiple factors, multiple benefits as to why backward integration could be beneficial for the company.
Yeah. Sir, I understand that point. The only thing was that we are doing, let's say, around 45 injectable products for US in our pipeline and already developed. And then if you look to kind of in-source all of those APIs, it would be a very complex affair. That's the whole thing. Maybe it ensures continuity of supply, but it would be very complex for the team to actually manage. So that's it may have some challenges. Maybe one way could have been that you have a strategic partnership with the API supplier of repute. So,
Mr. Nikhil, I would like to give you an answer, and then I'll ask the CEO also to add something. See, business itself is the toughest occupation for a first-generation entrepreneur. We started from zero, and then we have come to a stage where actually we are also considered as one among actually the top 100 players of the country. And now that we are in a position to attract actually the best of the best talent, although we agree with you, there are complexities involved in any product which is technologically superior. We are sure that we'll be able to handle over a period of time. It's not that we are going to do everything at one time. However, I'll ask the CEO also to answer to your questions, please.
Yeah, exactly. As Chairman was saying, we will not be going for backward integration on all products. In fact, if you see some of the very successful, especially injectable companies that also have some level of backward integration, you will see that around 30-40% of their API have backward integration. Formulation products have backward integration. The rest of it they buy from outside. Now, obviously, there are some API that we require in hundreds of kgs, and that's not something that we want to do on our own. There are products where the supply itself, the number of people are very small. There might be people that are already exclusively integrated with someone else. So there are multiple factors that go into our decision of choosing which API to do backward integration for. It might also be a cost. It might also be our position in the market, where if we have, let's say, 15% right now, and we want to make sure that we cement our position at that level, then backward integration will be important. So in a nutshell, we will not be going for all the products. We will definitely pick and choose which ones that we want to go backward for. And finally, the deciding factor also could be that if there are 15 people already that are supplying API for that product, we will not bother with it. We will take it from outside. And also, as Chairman was saying, I think it is important to look at it on a long-term basis, especially given our expansion into the oncology space as well. So this place that we are looking for, the place that we are evaluating right now, it also has a separate block which could potentially be converted to do oncology API as well. Of course, this we have to evaluate over a period of time, but initial signs look like it is possible to do oncology and general category API from that place.
And I would like to add one more, Mr. Nikhil. If you look at the success of actually most of these oncology players, they all have APIs. Without the API presence, it's not easy for us to actually succeed, especially on the oncology front. That's also applicable to the injectables too, because as you know well, these two areas are very niche. We don't see many companies that are into injectables, and especially general injectables and the oncology injectables in the US market. We may see many people who are into OSD, not into these specialized areas, which means we have to have better control that alone can actually sustain as far as a consistent supply for our own products too.
Sure. No, I got that. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So it is very, very, very clear answer. Thank you. I'll join that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Thavkar from MOAMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So, between ROW and US market, that is US and non-US markets, which markets are we focusing on? The reason why I'm asking this question is typically the non-US markets generally have lower gross margins than the US one.
Yes. So the focus, as you know well, has been there for the ROW market, especially the Latin American market, for the last 15, 16 years. So that has already created a stickiness factor. Even if you see a brand marketing, a representative has to go to the doctor regularly and remind him to prescribe. But if you are in a market for the last 10, 15 years, and if you have created actually a good quality product with the best price, especially to the lower and low middle class and the bottom of the pyramid. You don't need any prescription. Your products becomes the prescription, and they bring the products, especially the strips which has been used, show it to the chemist and they buy. So, having created that stickiness factor, where we sincerely feel that in addition to our own people who have been taking care of that business, our focus has to be shifted to the larger markets now. And it will not be out of place to mention one more thing which I told even in my board meeting. I happened to see the video of the Taj Hotel Bombay blast. I was told there were 600 employees at that time, 600 guests and 500 room guests and 600 visitors. When the blast happened, the people took actually the guests out and they didn't stay there, especially the employees. They came back. And the Harvard professor who wanted actually to understand the case study started checking with everybody, including Mr. Tata, and they were not in a position to give the correct reply. But he went down under and then he checked with the HR guy. He said, we made it as a practice to select the boys from small towns. This has become a big success to the particular institution. Out of 34 people who died, 50% of them are the employees. The idea of telling this actually, although we are a smaller company, what we have done is actually we selected people from the smaller villages and the smaller towns. That created the extraordinary grit and gratitude along with the promoters of the company. So now that the people who are there, they are enough to take care of it. These are the people who are not in a position to earn even 5,000-6,000 rupees in India. They are all earning $5,000 to $6,000 in addition to what actually is the actual spending, that is being borne by the company. So that gratitude and the grit which I said, initially, of course, people were very hesitant because it's a risk take. These smaller markets, when we go and replace the importer, that results in a physical risk. We braved the physical risk as a family. We showed the way for our people that there is nothing. Even today, one of the family members, that's my son who managed the whole show there. So the next level is like actually the creator is always the promoter. The productor is always the professional. Now you use the professional, move to the bigger geographies and use some of our ideas which we still feel is edible so that the outcome will also be palatable. Yes, please. Yes, Mr. Ashish, is there anything you want me to ask?
Yeah. So, sir, and are we planning to set up our own front end in the US?
Yes. I would request actually the COO, because he's the one who is handling that area. He would be in a position to give you the correct reply.
Yeah. And
so
also if you could share by... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
and
ahead,
also
please.
if you could share by what are the timelines?
Yeah. So at this point, we have 12 products that are our own, and half of these products we have signed exclusively with a partner in the US. Now, this exclusivity will start to run down sometime by 2023 and 24. In addition to this, we have, as I was saying, 12 products that we are going to be filing this year. We have 3 products already under review with the FDA with target dates that are anywhere between April to September of the current calendar year. So by this time next year, we'll have the structure in place for our entry into the US, but actual sales, etc., we feel that by middle of next year, we can launch our own label over there. So you could say it as middle of next year. And I would just like to make one small note on your initial question. You said that the ROW markets margins are usually lower than US. The point is correct, but in our company, if you see, because of our business model of eliminating the middlemen, our ROW margins are well above the peers. If you could do some comparison, I think you will find that out for yourself, which is a credit to the business model that we operate on right now.
Yeah, I would like to add here. Sorry, in fact, actually, I couldn't I couldn't process what you said that way. In course of my speech, I said actually that in the last 3 years and 9 months, we generated a cash profit of 1,000 crore for a business of say 1,200 crore or something, 1,100 crore, sorry, last year. I don't think, this is something very usual with our peers. This is something a rarity. I think that will give you the correct answer also.
Okay. And sir, have you broken even at in the US business? Because I guess we have invested around 120, 130 crores initially, like 3-4 years back. So in terms of cash flow, have we broken even?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
are you
of course
talking?
we have.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, on the investment is much more than that. As you know, we have invested into both capex and R&D over the last 5-6 years almost. But in terms of a break-even, as I was explaining during the course of my initial comments, when you look at the business with as is, without the R&D and the assets that we are filing, then on a cash flow basis, we would break even at the end of this year. But at the same time, we are following a very conservative model where we charge off all of our R&D expenses. So we feel confident that next financial year we should break even on a wholesome level.
Okay.
Mr. Ashish, I would like to add one thing here. If you look at the injectable space, the generic space in the US too, the top two companies which were number 1 and number 2 today, they are no more number 1, number 2. They got a business fatigue already. That clearly shows generic is a model where there is nothing in the form of creation of monopolies, unless you have some extraordinary business model differentiation. And most of the products actually, which is unique, becomes generic over a period of time. So what we would look at it actually, there will be a time, even if you don't break even now, you would be in a position to get into that space, because what is important at this juncture is to actually withstand the pressure in the form of the amount of money one spends on the R&D and the operating cost and the expansions, which is definitely possible with considering our cash flow. So it's not the break-even that really matters. It's the way in which you want to grow and the kind of resources which you have, right from people to money. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Just one question before I get into the queue. And since we are targeting around 25 to 30 products in the premix bag line, is it possible that some of the products be converted into premix bag formulations? And if yes, would this premix bag formulation business be at a similar EBITDA margin level, which is today?
Let's take it, Vivek.
Yeah. So the premix bag line, we have about 10 to 11 products. So overall, our pipeline is more than 45-50 products right now, of which 10 to 12 of them are premix bags. Typically, the competition in premix bag is lesser than vials. In fact, in India, to the best of my knowledge, only 3 companies have premix bags, us being one of them. So we feel that the margins in premix bags are higher than regular vials. But of course, on the flip side of it, we've recently found that the cost of freight has gone up significantly. I'm talking about 3 to 5x in some cases. So for a brief period, till a certain level of normalcy comes back in that, I think there'll be little depletion. But compared to regular vials, I think there is still a fair percentage more realization on the premix bag.
And how would this stack up against our current consolidated EBITDA margins? Would that be a bit lower or in line?
So our EBITDA margins, if you see right now, Caplin Steriles' business still is in the red, so that does drag it down a little bit. The minute you have overall break even on the company, just by virtue of that itself, you will start to see higher EBITDA margins. So if anything, I think it can only go up from here. Is our suggestion.
Yeah. Thanks. I got that. I'll get back in the queue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ashish.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Girish Bakaru from OrbiMed. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. Just carrying from the question, how much is the addressable market for these 12 products in premix?
I don't have the numbers right now, but many of them, if you see, there's only about 2 to 3 players. Couple of them have only 1. But I don't have, the exact split of the premix bags, I don't have right now.
But these are mostly oncology products, is it? What products
No,
are these?
These are general category products, and usually, okay, let me explain. In the US, how it happens is anything that is above, let's say, 40 and 50 ml It used to be long time ago in bottles, glass bottles or plastic bottles. Today it is in bags. But at the same time, recently what has been happening is that why we call it as a premix bag is there are some solutions that needs to be drawn out of the vial and then added into a infusion bag. So now there is a new concept over the last few years where the pre-mix is already available so that the number of steps that a healthcare worker or a nurse needs to take is reduced. So the product directly comes pre-mixed that can be administered at a hospital. So that's what the concept of a pre-mix bag is.
Okay. And is it, when you say 3 companies, I'm not sure if this is something that will attract competition in future. Do you think more companies can eventually install these lines and this segment can get more crowded?
So of course there is no way to say, but the one thing that we have seen for sure is injectables per se is a long-term, very, very expensive proposition. So even if competition comes in, we feel that it will usually be from the big boys, and that is not competition that we consider. So.
Here I would like to add one more, Mr. Girish. In the next 15 to 18 months, we will have 7 lines actually in our US FDA injectable plant, which means the variety and volume will also be high. Most of the customers, what they expect actually is the quality first, next actually variety and volume. Whether it is a ROW market or a regulated market, if I am in a position to give the variety, then there is an opportunity for us to increase the price also. If the variety is low, then your negotiation capacity goes low. You will not be in a position to actually make more money. So ultimately, the kind of products first, it all starts with extraordinarily superior technology. That's how the big companies which are into monoclonal antibodies and all kinds of biosimilar stuff. The other next step of companies, you would see all the branded companies, But again, if you look at the reality, even in US, 90% of the prescriptions are generics. So the volume is big, and if you look at the number of factories that manufactures in India, especially companies which are going for their own ANDAs, I would say, companies of our size is few and far between. So we have certain characteristics that would definitely make us actually, to make good margins and grow comfortably in the years to come.
No, that's where I'm a bit confused because, total pipeline right now is getting to 45, which is where we are also in variety and, bringing in this different formulation formats. So, I'm curious to know, is the product selection for the steriles business more based on the fact what will give you attention from these distributors who would want to look at company of your size, or how is it exactly based?
The company of our size will not remain the same actually in the next few years, as you are aware. If you look at actually, any company for that matter, not all companies are really growing. Some are like children, they grow, some are like dwarfs. And if you look at us, our thing, in the last few years, we have been growing consistently. In spite of actually the issues that we faced in the form of COVID and other things, the growth has been good. Now that we are getting into the bigger geographies and bigger actually, products, so there is an entry barrier. That challenge will be there. Once we handle it, it's not the question of whether you will be able to do it or not. It's a question of actually, as I told you before, the most important is the resources. First comes actually, as you know, people first. Second is whether you have the money. It should not be in the form of actually, borrowed money. Then what happens? That always creates issue. You are also aware what has happened to some companies which borrowed heavily, initially thinking that they can leverage the loans, and which has not happened. We are very conscious of certain things. It's all actually from our own money. When it comes to our own business models, it's not a borrowed wisdom. We will also follow the big players once we go for actually once we achieve what you call actually critical mass, and then we will follow actually the model that says in the form of catering to the top of the pyramid. But until that time, if we are able to remove the intermediaries and create actually a model which would represent the distributors to cater to the last mile, that would definitely give us more profits and cash flows also. So I sincerely feel it's not the number of products. Today we have 400 to 500 products registered in the Central American market, which no other company does it. What we have done is, if you see, even 30-40% of our formulation, it goes from China to South America. I will also tell you one more thing. Of course, this one I don't want to say, but unless I say, it will not convince you. I'll tell you. When we go for an API plant, it's true we'll go for the captive consumption. The next step would be, China is one country, it takes huge actually time to complete the registration, whether it's a formulation or API. Our next step would be to export of intermediates where you don't need anything in the form of registration. Then we will approach to some companies. We have already got 400 or 500 products formulations registered in Latin America, which I said now. We will give the intermediates from our own source. We will give actually the know-how to our people in China who is going to manufacture our formulation. We will also tell them that we will give you the export order. Then what will happen? One portion of our products, again, will go from China. Now we reduced it, we will increase. Okay, you may ask one question. There are issues between China and India, and then China and the world. The issues are there. But what is visible is visible. What is not visible and latent is also an opportunity. At the end of the day, whether we like the person or not, as long as there is an opportunity to do business, why not we do it?
Right. That's very helpful. Just last one, if I can squeeze. I mean, when you talk of the scale, where probably, I mean, when you say that your company will not be the same size, with this capacity expansion also within steroids to 3x, what is that number where you would say that scale has been achieved? Is it $100 million or is it?
Yeah, I would ask the COO because he is specializing on the US business. I would request him. I would ask him to actually reply to your question.
Yeah. So just to add one point on the previous question, Girish, was when it comes to injectables, whether it's an injectable in a vial form or a bag form or a pre-filled syringe form, it all goes, I would say 95% of them goes through the hospital network. So you can't really zero in on one or two therapeutic segments that you will focus on. That would be in the oral solid dosages model. If you're in oral solids, you can focus on CNS specifically, CVS, all of that, right? But when it comes to injectable, you have to be therapy agnostic because everything goes through the hospital model. So if you see some of the very successful injectable companies, both out of India, Israel, US, and all that, you will see that they don't have a specific therapeutic segment that they focus on. It is all what you can manufacture and what kind of variety that you can offer. So we are following a similar kind of a model. And when it comes to premix bags, the concept of filling and sterilizing is pretty much the same as a vial. So they just need some additional equipment, which is what we are doing. And number two, I think your question was on capacity. So right now, the public statement that we have made is we will be targeting $100 million revenue by 2026. And whatever capacity expansion that we are doing is definitely much more than what would be necessary for us to achieve that. So our capacity expansion, to the best of our knowledge, will be enough for at least 26 and beyond for us. Because right now we have two vial lines. We have an ophthalmic line and a bag line coming up in the next couple of months. We are going to add two more lines that run at twice the speed of the existing lines. And then we also have a high lyophilization capacity and pre-filled syringes coming. So all put together, this is going to triple our existing capacity.
That's very helpful. All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Girish.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akash from, he is an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you. You have some ambitious plans to grow the business over the next 5-6 years. You want to become one of the top 25 pharma companies, and you want to generate cash reserves of 1,500 crores. So related to this, so my question is, what is the growth rate or CAGR you are targeting to achieve this over the next 5-6 years? Secondly, do you expect any more capex to achieve this target in addition to the 450 crores that you're already spending? And thirdly, do you have the management bandwidth to achieve this, or how are you planning to strengthen the management team and also the board? Thank you.
Thank you. Your question involves 3 parts. Let me answer the second one, capex. Our capex, as I told you, it will be only from the internal accruals. And if you look at the 1,000 crore, which I said, we generate that, we have around close to 600 crores actually in the form of deposits. That alone will be enough actually to tell you that we have enough cash flow to take care of our capital expenditures. Number 2, CAGR. You know that we have been comfortably growing now. If you ask me actually what will happen in the next 5 years, last 3 years, 2019, I spent entire year, I made 11 trips to China for the newer projects. And by the time the COVID came, 2019, 2021, I have not been to the market. Our people have not been to the market, except the one who is already in the market, which of course in the Central America. So currently, I don't want to give you anything without even seeing what is the ground reality. That's second question. Third one, management bandwidth. As I told you, what is expected from any employee or executive is, one is freedom, respect, and prosperity. And most important is the prosperity. In addition to giving salary, if somebody can offer actually a share at par value, in the sense 2 rupees, today my share is quoting, I think, 800 or something. If I give it at 2 rupees, what else actually an employee will be in a position to get better than this in other companies? So as we go to the bridge, we will cross the bridge when we reach there. And we are sure of getting the management bandwidth, increasing the management bandwidth, and it has been happening now. We will have challenges. It's not that we don't have any challenges and we'll be able to attract everything. That's the reason I said we have to create certain things in the form of a newer environment over it. That alone can actually attract the talent. We are sure of it. These are the 3 answers which I am able to submit to you. If you have any questions, please ask again.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one question about your annual report. Can I please ask?
Please, no issues, please.
Okay, thank you. So I was looking at the annual report for the last 2 years. In 2020, I saw that you don't receive any salary, and Mr. Vivek was receiving around 18 lakhs per annum. And the last annual report, again, you are not receiving any salary. Vivek's salary has actually gone down. And look, I'm not an expert, but I just feel that his salary is not really very low compared to the industry standard. So I just want to know more about about this. If you can throw some light on this, please.
If I have to put it in simple, we never felt it is very relevant actually to take more money from the company, even in the form of salary. We are getting enough actually, dividends. And by taking some 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs or 10 lakhs per month, and that cash is not going to make a huge difference to us. What I have found, there was a time I was earning 125 rupees. That's how I started my life. I agree. Profit without business, especially business, which is very important. Profit without business is like marriage without love. When it comes to actually a position, you are in a position to actually, take care of your own requirements, be it in the form of comfort of luxury. At that point of time, money becomes a byproduct. You're also, I would put it this way, like, even if you have an extraordinary watch, you can't wear it in 2 hands. You can maximum wear it in 1 hand only. I think it was told by our Tatas. So life is as simple as that. And somehow I never thought that I should take money from the company. Maybe I also have something in the form of some benchmarking. When I reach that one, I will take it. And I'll also ask actually my son, the COO, to increase it also.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Bhartiman.
Thank you so much.
And also, I've been interested in your company for the last 7 years, and you have managed your company extremely professionally.
Thank you, sir.
With
you're right.
And with high integrity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our board actually does not contain any relative. The managing director also is a professional. And what is important now, if you are prepared to chase excellence, a day will come that money will start chasing the excellence. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Alisha Mahawla from Envision Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening, and thank you for taking my question. So firstly, just would like to know, is it possible for you to quantify the U.S. revenue in this quarter?
Yeah. So the first 9 months, I believe we have done 86 crore. Can CFO or Satya answer the correctly?
Yeah. Sure. For the 9 months, our total revenue from operations is 87 crores in the current year, as against 53 crores in the last year, 9-month period.
Okay. Also, did the U.S. business degrow sequentially last quarter to this quarter?
So we feel that the U.S. business is not at a at a stage where you can compare quarter on quarter, because this will probably take another 12 to 18 months before we can start to compare quarter on quarter. We are at a smaller base, obviously, and also with the like I said, during COVID, we've had periods where our productivity was definitely down in this plant, which didn't really affect too much the other plants also. So I think 23 and beyond would be a good time for us to compare quarter on quarter.
One more development that has taken place, actually, we are installing our bags. In the process, one of the line also is shut down.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Also wanted to know that, while you mentioned that, in your presentation, you're saying that you're aiming to file for 12 ANDAs in FY22. Can you please share with us how many ANDA filings have we done in 9-month FY22?
We have about 3 products under review at this point. I believe out of the 3, if I'm not wrong, 2 have been filed within. No, all 3 have been filed within the last 9 months. And in addition to that, I want to just explain this process. As I was saying, during the first 4 or 5 months of this year, we were running with only 1 line because the second line was not qualified, because there were men and material movement restrictions all across India. So obviously, for a new line to be qualified, we need engineers coming in from outside to help out with the qualification. So because we had already a certain amount of market share captured and many of the products we had launched, we had to prioritize commercial over exhibit batches. The exhibit batches are the batches that you put in stability before filing an ANDA. So the number looks like it is lesser than what we had targeted because of these restrictions, but we've already started to catch up. I think, like I said, our usual target would have been 8 to 10 products, but we'll be going at a higher clip. We'll be focusing at about 12. We'll be targeting 12 to 14 products going forward.
Yeah, coming to this one, I would like to add one more. To be frank with you, this COVID is not only actually a curse in terms of actually disease, and it also delayed actually the prospects of commissioning some of our projects and then the registration. But it has also become a blessing for companies whose stocks are actually next to the customer. We are one among them. That's one of the major reasons there is an increase in cash flow and sales actually from our ROW markets of Latin America.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Just to clarify to the question that I was asking, so while our aim was for 12 ANDA filings, we've only been able to file 3 because, like I said, only 1 line was running. And going forward, so one, do we aim to maintain the 12 filings for 22, which seems unlikely because that means a very high number for Q4. And going forward, you did mention that you're going to step up on the filings, and we're aiming for 12 to 14 ANDA filings annually. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah. So I'll just not entirely. So I'll just explain. Our target was always 8 to 10 ANDAs. So as against that, within the first 9 months, we've only done 3. See, if you compare it year on year, exactly, we might be falling. For example, we have about 6 products that are under stability right now. Now, out of the 6 products, 4 are going to be filed in April. So if you consider exactly April to March, there'll be a little bit of plus or minus here and there. So we look at it from a calendar year perspective. So going forward, what we have missed out on in the last 9 months, we will start to catch up. I feel within the next 1.5, 2 years should be in a position to catch up completely in terms of the number of filings per se.
Understood. And while we're saying that we've launched 15 products, is it again possible to say how many were launched in 9 months, FY22?
I don't have the exact breakup right now, but we have launched about 4 products in the last 2 quarters. That's what I have on my hand. But this has been launched. I mean, the first product was launched in 2018 end, right? So the last 4, I believe, out of the 7 approvals that we had in the last few months, or I would say close to a year and a half, about 4 was launched in the last 2 quarters.
Okay, 4 in last 2 quarters. Got it. And just one more question, if I may. It was very well explained about the geographies that we intend to focus on, and just again referring to this presentation, while you mentioned that Mexico some supplies have started and Brazil some products have been approved. So 2-part question. One is what sort of contribution can we expect from these 2 geographies in 23? And the other geographies of Russia, CIS, etc., that we are targeting, by when can we expect any contribution from them? Because these are our target geographies now. So is it a 1-year kind of picture, or 3 or 5 years? Just some clarity. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want so I will answer to this question actually. The business that we have done in Mexico and other parts actually are all emergency requirements. It's not based on the conventional business in the form of you register the products and export. That real business which is going to start, will happen only after actually visit this country. There are certain models which, of course, I don't want to disclose everything, because disclosing everything will lead to self-victimization. And the volumes and exactly the CAGR actually for future can be told to our investor after we review the exact situation which is happening in the market now. So I may not be in a position to tell you the exact volumes, to be very honest with you.
I understand. I just want to know, is the target that by in 23 at least some form of commercial supplies should take place? While I understand
the subject of COVID. Yes, madam. The reason is, first of all, I don't know whether the COVID curve is already flattened and the pandemic has become endemic. When exactly we will be in a position to travel? These are things which is beyond my comprehension. Although uncertainty is the only certainty, there is one thing in the form of that certainty which is beyond our comprehension, because we cannot travel unless actually the countries permit us to actually enter those countries. Now, for example, US, yes, is allowed. So the CEO of the company is planning to visit in March. But I focus more on South America. So South America, they have to open up the borders, which they have not done it. And again in China, even for the Chinese, they have not opened up actually, to enter China. See, these are few things which are practical. So when such is the situation, I don't want to do the crystal gaze.
Fair.
I hope I'm sincere in conveying these things. There's no point in my telling you something which may not be correct.
No, which is absolutely.
So no crystal gazing, please.
Sure. And sorry, just one last very quickly. The capex that we've planned, the capacity expansion, and also the oncology, everything is on track, right? Oncology by mid of 23, and the capacity expansion, the pre-filled, etc. by end of 23 is the timeline also.
Cost overrun, actually, we have 100% control. Project overrun, maybe little here and there, of course, you know very well. This is again COVID times. That's the reason, actually. Like when the government say you keep a social distancing, how do you expect somebody to do social distancing while constructing the factory? How can I tell somebody, see, you remove your mask and then work in such a way so that the speed actually will be, increased? So this is it's a very difficult question to answer, madam. 100% we are sure, because in fact, this is the time we want to grow. We want to use some certain opportunities where we feel, in the form of exporting our goods, increase the export. I will tell you how the opportunities comes in the existing market. Even today, the more and more we export goods, we are in a position to sell, and actually they are transferring the money, mainly because the small timers have not been in a position to export because the container cost, the freight, one container to South America is $15,000. The value of your goods may be $35,000, but the freight is 50%. With the result, not many players actually in this. This is actually, as you know, this is a third continent. It's not something similar to Africa or China, or maybe Asia, which is closer to India. So with the result, we are doing well. One is the business model that we have created a long time ago. Second is the advantage which has happened, in the form of increase in freight. That may cost you a bit. We are in a position to add that cost on our pricing. That's because there are not much competitor in the market. But at the same time, when it comes to the question, as I told you before, expansion of projects or completion of the registration, it is definitely something which is beyond everybody's comprehension. It's not only our company. Maybe some company, yes, if they have people on the site, if they have people in the bigger geographies already, then it becomes easier because they have people the way we have people in Central America. We see when we were about to expand 3 years ago, the first issue, as I told you, I was concentrating one full year. I made 11 trips to China. The second one was 2020 COVID, 2021 COVID. So 3 years added to our chronology already. Now, when exactly, we'll be in a position to travel also, it's not in our hand, it's a misnomer. So again, I'll tell you, these figures which you want me to give in the form of estimator, I don't want to do actually something which may not be correct.
Sure, sir, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil from Galaxy International. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for giving the opportunity again. So just one more question on that. So we are saying that we want to be in the US, let's say by FY23, right? Next year, 1.5 years down the line. So again, any specific reason why do we want to be in the US by ourselves, given the consolidated nature of the industry, 4 or 5 players controlling 80% of the market, and I think bigger players having an edge, given that they have a much wider basket from oral to injectable to other products. And in injectables, obviously the volumes are not so high, especially leaving aside some of the products. And then the price fall can be very sharp if we go into a price war, right? So would it make more sense to actually have a partnership with some of these bigger companies till the time we actually find our feet and become bigger, maybe over the 2-3 years, I would say? Sorry.
Yeah. So there are 2 points here. Number one is when it comes to injectables, the primary strategy that we've been following so far is to out-license our products for a profit share. Most of the time it is around 50% each, and recently during distribution agreements we've done 65-70% also to us. But one thing that we've noticed consistently is that we are giving up a huge amount of our profit by way of these partnerships. Granted, it is important to have good partnerships so we understand the market better, we understand the buying patterns, we understand what are all the chains that, what are the channels that these products go through. But we feel we're at a point right now where we are adding significant amount of value into our own filings, but we are not really capturing all of that value onto our books. And when it comes to US, as we described 2-3 times before, we are not going to go with the conventional business model of trying to sell only to the GPOs. We want to see what we can do in the second and third tiers. We want to sort of peel away the layers to see, even if there is a lesser volume that we are selling, if there's going to be a higher quality of sale, I think we are more interested in that. I think this is sort of repeating the pattern from what we have done in Latin America also. Finally, one more point I would say is companies that file their own ANDAs, to the best of my knowledge, there's no one in India except us that continue to not have a front end in the US. It is, in fact, one of the customers that we work closely with, he was saying the same thing in a lighter way, in saying that selling is the most difficult thing to do in Latin America, yet you people seem to be doing very well over there. Selling in the US is the most easiest thing, yet you don't seem to be doing that. Of course, there needs to be a time and a place, and we feel 2023, with the number of products that we have in the pipeline, would be the right time and place for us to launch our front end.
I would like to add some more actually in this area. You are aware that the world is moving towards monopolistic practices, and companies, whatever it is, business is moving in that direction. How to create monopolies, and when the big companies create monopolies, companies like our small or medium have to create value monopolies. Value monopolies is what? It's nothing but actually creation in the form of business model. That's what we have told you, second tier, third tier. But here I would like to add one more. The monopolistic companies are the one who are into brand marketing, are the one who have the capability of creating something extraordinary like vaccine manufacturing. But if you look at the generics front, I don't want to name of the company because it's not ethical. The two companies, once again I repeat, the two companies which are number 1 and number 2 is no more number 1 and number 2. Number 3, there is a company which has been taken over by Chinese people. It's an Indian company which is out and out actually into injectables. They are number 1 actually in injectables today in many parts of the world, including US, if you take injectable alone. But this company is again a Chinese company. The day they complete more and more products in China, they will come to know the profitability in China is much more, so that the attention will be diverted actually towards China. At that point of time, you don't have many companies which will be in the form of like actually full injectables like that. Now that we are planning to go for seven line of injectables, plus we'll also have onco injectable. Going forward, our API guy says you can even manufacture a product called eptapinan, where the competition is very less. The only issue one has to go for that eptapinan alone, a separate injectable. But we will think of it at a later date. The idea of telling this one, what is important, sometimes what is visible is not the important thing. What is invisible or latent, that becomes the business reality later. What has not been noticed is to be noticed. Where is the gap? How exactly to understand actually what has not been done by others, what we have not been able to do before, and how exactly to do the same thing today in a differentiated way. That makes all the difference. That is what is a new normal. That's what actually will take the company to the next level, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, sir. And just one specific request only, let's say. So I was trying to contact the company and I wrote to the investor relations mail ID and also to the investor relation person. But somehow I did not receive any response. So if maybe I can take it offline if let me know who can be the
forward it actually. I'm sorry how this has happened. We don't know. We normally do it actually because what type of this thing you wrote actually to the company, Mr. Nikhil?
Sir, some queries actually. So there were some queries that I had. So I just wanted some response on that. So maybe
check with the company secretary. We'll see to it that it will be done in future. I don't know how it will.
So if you can, So it's not a complaint. So it's just like if you can let me know where I can send my email, so then I can just send again. And
it's well taken. We'll have to be like it's all actually investor grievances have to be taken care of it. So it's well taken. I don't feel that it's a complaint. It's an information that we will have to look into. Thank you. Thanks for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Ashish Thakkar from MOAMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity again. So just wanted to ask whether we have any seasonality in our business. I mean to say, would it be that fourth quarter is a stronger quarter and probably third quarter is a lower quarter?
No, whether we have, what did you say? Please come again.
So is there a seasonality in our business in terms of our sales?
No, so far there is nothing in the form of actually seasonal. For a generic business, there is no season. As actually has been told by the COO, if your portfolio involves certain drugs, which of course, the season season. For example, if you go for actually an anti-cold preparation or something, that is a seasonal drug. Or something in the form of paracetamol or maybe a COVID drug, where vitamin C, vitamin D3, and then your zinc. These are products, ivermectin. These are products I would consider it as a seasonal drug during COVID period. We have not been focusing much on that. It's true, we have been exporting these products also. Our major products are like, okay, even if you register some 405 products, one thing which is of course you are also aware, everything goes by the Pareto principle. This 20% of the products actually which gives you the business, that actually is the major breadwinner, and the remaining 80% piggybacks on that one. So what we are planning now, since you asked me this question, now that we are getting into specialized injectables, we are also getting into CNS and CVS, which are already developed in our R&D. We are getting into oncology tablet and injectables. Then the fourth area, we are also developing ophthalmic for the US products. These items that we are planning to go for brand marketing in the countries where we are present today. The advantage of brand marketing in this country, you don't need deep packets. For example, if you have to meet actually some 20, 30 oncologists, you need only one representative to cover. If you have to go for 200 CNS, CVS doctor or 300, what you need is 3 or 4 actually representatives only. The same way you have to go and cover the institutions to sell your injectable, what you need is again actually 1 or 2 people per country. Even ophthalmologists, in country where the population is 10 million, 9 million and 14 million, you don't need many number of people. But the biggest, again the issue is, all these countries, they require the US visa. If you have a US visa, then you can go to all these countries without even any visas for that country. But when you interview most of the people from India to go there actually and teach our people who are already there in the form of brand marketing, none of them have the US visa. So we are working various models. Now that the CEO of the company is also the honorary consular of Guatemala. So we almost actually collected some visas for Guatemala. But again, the issue is, if he has to travel from Guatemala to other countries, he has to take a work permit which will take 6 months there. So certain practical difficulties are delaying the prospects of getting into various new models which would also generate revenue streams over a period of time.
Okay, this is very helpful. Just one last question. So last year we did sign some agreements with partners for 2 complex products and 1 suspension. Has the filing been done now?
For 2 of them, yeah. So for 2 of them, the exhibit batches have been completed. They are under stability. So in the next 7 to 8 months, I feel they should be filed. And for the third one, it is still under development process.
Okay. This is very helpful. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish.
Thank you. In interest of time, this was the last question for today. I now hand the conference over to management for closing comments.
Thank you everyone for your questions, and we hope we've been able to answer most of them. And if we've missed out anything, please do write to us. As the chairman said, we welcome you to come in for a visit now that the situation is slowly getting better. And we thank BNK, Alka, Rohit, and our Christensen people as well for organizing. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all of you, please. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Batlivala and Karani Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.